city of Milan to give a special thanks to the responsible of this ASEM summit. We are really happy and for the results of this summit. We discussed about a lot of things very, very important in this particular moment. This is a moment of crisis around the world with a lot of problems in some areas. And I think the only solution possible is exactly a different cooperation, more cooperation between all the countries, all the organizations, all the institutions. This summit in Milan gives a clear message about the necessity to improve the cooperation and the dialogue, the connection and connectivity. And I think after today's very significant, we can be absolutely happy for the results. Sustainable growth, fight against poverty, fight against climate change or for a different climate change, attention about sustainability in the food. And I stress and underline the importance of Expo 2015 in Milan from May 1st to November 30 next year are focus of our discussion. And in general, I think we can absolutely encourage every effort in the direction of peace, of dialogue in some areas of crisis around the world. For all the reason, I'm really appreciated President Van Rompuy, chairman of this summit. A special thanks to every participant and also for the journalists for the work in this very important event.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Let me give the floor to the President of the European Council.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me start by thanking Prime Minister Matteo Renzi and all his team wholeheartedly for hosting the 10th ASEM Summit here in the wonderful city of Milano. Italy has done a wonderful job. And we have just concluded our summit, a major gathering of Asian and European leaders that occurs every second year. With more than 50 leaders in Milano and 2 new countries, Croatia and Kazakhstan, joining, ASEM is showing its significance. We are meeting in challenging times. Europe is working hard to overcome one of its most serious crises in decades. We deepened the economic and monetary union. The European Union is actively engaged in regaining economic growth and jobs based on private and public investment. And at the same time, the European security environment has undergone profound changes. The conflict in Ukraine has not yet found a political solution. And in our southern borders, instability pervades across the Middle East, extending into Northern Africa and the Sahel. Partner Sustainable Development Agenda. These are opportunities we cannot miss. Our future, including the survival of many developing countries, is at stake. We all share responsibilities. We will continue working with Asian partners in the run-up to these events to ensure that we achieve tangible results. And this is what we have to agree to. We have also reviewed our respective regional situations and risks that threaten security in our continents. The retreat session was particularly useful in this respect, and many refer to the importance of ensuring respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. Well, there are different perspectives within ASEM partners. I believe we all agreed that only through dialogue, cooperation and respect for international law will we be able to find solutions bringing peace and stability. Non-traditional security threats, in particular health pandemics such as Ebola, occupied part of our discussions. Deep concerns were expressed about violent extremism and terrorism, and we must further unite forces in fighting these scourges that threaten all countries. The European Union will engage decidedly with countries interested in cooperation. Finally, in the margins of the ASEM summit, President Barroso and I participated this morning in a meeting with President Putin and Poroshenko, together with the leaders of Italy, Germany, France and the United Kingdom. We agreed on the need to bring back peace and stability to eastern Ukraine. To this effect, it is essential that we ensure implementation of the Minsk agreements, in particular as regards the ceasefire, border control and the holding of elections. The key word was implementation, implementation, implementation. More encounters will take place this afternoon in the search for concrete progress on these issues. Ladies and gentlemen, the 10th ASEM Summit has been very productive. The process continues, and implementing all our commitments already represents a challenge of a higher order. I have no doubt that the ASEM's next chair will contribute to driving our efforts forward with energy and with wisdom. I congratulate Mongolia and its president on hosting the 20th anniversary of ASEM in 2016, and I wish to ensure President El Bekdorj of the European Union's full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now the floor to the President of Mongolia.
Your Excellency President Van Rompuy, Barroso, and Prime Minister of Italy and Prime Minister of Malaysia, and members of the media family. You know, I would like to add one thing. We had a very successful meeting here in Milano, and I would like to join all those congratulations. People of Italy and the government of Italy and city of Milano for extraordinary organization for this summit. I'm from Mongolia, and Mongolia is actually located at the heartland between Europe and Asia. And because of that, here we had one good topic, which is very timely topic, connectivity issue between our two countries, how to connect our people, how to connect our businesses, how to connect our countries. That was one of the issues, and already task force and working group is formed, and there will be more ships between our two continents. There will be more flights between our two continents. There will be more roads, more infrastructure, more railways. I think that is great news for you, for the people of Europe and Asia. Second thing, I'm really happy that all leaders accepted and supported our proposal to host next ASEM summit in my country, in Mongolia, in our capital city, Ulaanbaatar, in 2016. That summit is going to be a special summit, a special anniversary summit, because ASEM was established in 1996, and in 2016, we will celebrate 20 years of ASEM there. And I really touched, during this conference, we had 53 countries participated. Out of 53 countries, there were 44 presidents and prime ministers actually participated in this ASEM meeting, and I hope such kind of turnout will be in Mongolia. And also many people, of course, interested what months, when it will happen. I think we discussed with our European partners and Asian partners. We will host this ASEM summit tentatively in the last week of July 2016. During that time in my country, we will have very cool, very nice weather, and I hope you will all enjoy, all our partners will enjoy hospitality of our people exotic lifestyle of Mongolians and also our culture. And we are really to have this opportunity. Of course, we are seeking close collaboration with our partners, European Union, ASEAN, and SENAM in Southeast North Asian group. And also we have two great neighbors, People's Republic of China, Russian Federation, and with their help, we will organize excellent summit in Mongolia. All those people who are sitting here, you are all invited to Mongolia. And we have we announced 42 countries, from 42 countries last month, citizens can come to Mongolia up to 30 days without visa. Most of those people sitting here can come to Mongolia without visa. If there is any bureaucracy, tell them, I have an invitation from President of Mongolia. See you in Mongolia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Please, the President of the European Commission.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to very sincerely thank Prime Minister Renzi for hosting us and for this great Milano and Italian hospitality. The summit we just had demonstrates that Asia matters to Europe and Europe matters to Asia. This summit also witnessed the accession of two new partners, Croatia and Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan being the first country from Central Asia to join ASEM. The theme of this summit, Responsible Partnership for Growth and Security, could not reflect better our common view. We spoke about responsibility, and responsibility was again reaffirmed from both sides to jointly tackle today's global challenges, from the fight against climate change to the eradication of poverty and the pursuit of sustainable development. These are all tests to our credibility as leaders. We need to show leadership and we need to deliver. This is also what is required from us to deal with the Ebola outbreak. This is not just a problem of a few West African countries that are experiencing terrible suffering because of this Ebola virus. This can be really a major humanitarian catastrophe. It is a collective responsibility of the international community. The European Commission has been providing assistance to the countries affected and humanitarians on the ground. But together with our member states and international partners, we all need to step up our efforts. We'll discuss next week in the European Union what more can be done. I've decided to put this as the main topic of the meeting of the European Commission so that we can also give our contribution to the decisions taken next week in the European Council. ASEM is also about partnership. A partnership you'd like to see as a partnership of equals based on a solid set of values. Energy, environment, science, education, digital, all of them have great potential for further cooperation, and we will pursue this through connectivity. Connectivity being, in fact, at the center of the discussions we just had. I've also announced that the European Union has decided to increase its financial support to all these areas through concrete projects. We have already decided it for the next financial period. ASEM is also about sustainable growth in Europe and Asia. Economic cooperation is essential for this. During these 2 days, we also had the chance to discuss the prospects for supporting global growth. Europe needs to continue delivering on a comprehensive package which should put recovery on a firmer basis, comprising a differentiated, growth-friendly fiscal policy, the strengthening of the financial sector, ambitious structural reforms to support growth, and targeted investment. As you know, this is very much now in the agenda of the European Union. Growth is our top priority. In addition to the measures we take internally to make Europe more competitive, we are also engaging externally with an active trade agenda, and we remain at the forefront in the fight for open, free and fair trade. In this sense, our relations with Asia are extremely important. The relationship in trade and investment with Asia has never been as strong as it is now. We are the largest investor in Asia, and Asian countries are also major investors in Europe. Finally, ASEM is also about security and stability. I will not repeat what was just said. Let me just highlight one issue. On the European side, the need to have a peaceful solution to the conflict of Ukraine. I must thank our ASEM partners for their support for a united and sovereign Ukraine. As you know, some side meetings have taken place these past days with President Putin, President Poroshenko. Together with President Van Rompuy, I have participated yesterday in a meeting with President Poroshenko and today with President Putin and other leaders, European leaders. And we have reiterated the need for a full implementation of the ceasefire and the Minsk agreements. I believe the meeting was constructive. Now the key is a serious implementation so that trust can be created and consolidated. On the Asian side, I will only make a special reference, not to repeat what President Van Rompuy very clearly expressed, on ASEAN. ASEAN can play a central role as an engine for regional integration. Indeed, we also had an informal meeting between the European leaders, European Union leaders, and the leadership of the ASEAN, and we fully support the efforts of ASEAN to achieve an economic community by 2015. Our relationship needs now to be brought to a strategic level, and we are ready to support that objective. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we can say that here in Milan, we have put our ideas for the future of our continent on the table. Let's now make them happen. I'm sure that next summit, under the chairmanship of Mongolia and with the warmth and enthusiasm of the President of Mongolia, will also be a very productive one. I thank you.
Thank you, President Barroso. Let me give the floor to the Prime Minister of Malaysia.
Let me begin by expressing our deepest appreciation to Prime Minister Matteo Renzi, to the government of Italy for the excellent arrangements made throughout the summit. Although our stay has been a short one, but it is made much more memorable by the warm hospitality that we have received. I would also like to express our gratitude to the President of the European Council for steering the ASEM 10 to a successful conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had 2 days of open, insightful, and productive discussions, and we are pleased with the results of the summit. Our discussions have elevated the level of cooperation towards greater synergy between Asia and Europe across the 3 ASEM pillars. I believe that policy coordination and collaboration amongst ASEM member partners are vital. This will strengthen economic and trade linkages, as well as assist us to better manage financial risks and ensure sustainable growth. The deliberations have brought both our regions closer together in identifying joint measures towards a purposeful partnership for sustainable growth and security, reflecting the theme of ASEM 10. The EU as a group is the largest investor in ASEAN. In 2013, EU investments total $27 billion, with the presence of over 5,000 European companies in the region. EU is ASEAN's 3rd largest trading partner, accounting for close to 10% of ASEAN's total external trade, valued at $246 billion. I am confident that the initiatives outlined in the Chair's statement will translate into tangible result-oriented programs which will serve as a practical joint responses by Asia and Europe to global challenges. Member partners must also seize the opportunities to achieve lasting growth and security. Finally, I wish to reiterate ASEAN's firm commitment to work with other member partners under the ASEM framework. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just let me remind you that the final statement will be available very soon. And now questions. Lawrence.
Thanks. Lawrence Norman from the Wall Street Journal. A question for the European Union leaders, if I may. On the Ukraine talks, was there one area, borders, ceasefire, gas, withdrawal of soldiers, where there is the real prospect of progress in the near term? And what is it, Mr. Van Rompuy, that gives you confidence that Mr. Putin is committed to bringing back peace and stability? And the second question, if I may, I know Mr. Poroshenko has asked for 2 billion euros in short-term loans from the European Union. Is that something that you believe that member states would be willing to sign off on?
What was your last question?
I understand that Mr. Poroshenko has asked for 2 billion euros in short-term loans. Is that something member states are likely to sign off on?
Yeah. Just a few words on the first part of the question, and then President Barroso will surely add comments on other parts of your question. So we had this meeting this morning in a very special format. Some have called it already Normandy Plus. So the European institutions were also involved in this. And the general agreement was the need to advance, as I said also in my statement, on implementation of the Minsk Protocol and the Minsk Memorandum, particularly as regards the ceasefire, border control and elections. Of course, and we may not hide it, there were differences of view regarding various aspects. And more meetings will take place this afternoon to address some of these questions. But it is also important to note that President Putin made it clear that he does not want the creation of another Transnistria, and that the Donbas region is an integral part of Ukraine. Many efforts have already been invested on the modalities to guarantee the ceasefire, and the European leaders reiterated today the offer of additional monitoring capabilities.
To follow on the meeting we had today, in fact, at the end of the meeting, it was agreed that even today here in Milano, at expert level, there will be meetings between Russia, Ukraine and the European Commission to prepare the very important trilateral meeting, also between the government of Russia, the government of Ukraine and the European Commission, next week in Brussels, so on energy. Because we believe this is a critical issue in the relationship between Russia and Ukraine, also with a very important impact on all Europe. And in fact, in the discussions we had yesterday with President Poroshenko, we have discussed the possibility of further financial assistance, not exactly the amount that the journalist mentioned, but we have discussed the possibility of increasing our macro-financial assistance to Ukraine, since Ukraine is in fact delivering on the reforms it committed to take. And so this is a matter that we are now discussing. It's a very important matter that has also to do with the global arrangements for energy. And what I said on behalf of the European Commission is that we are ready to consider further assistance, provided, of course, some conditions are met. We believe it's very important that next week in Brussels we achieve further progress on the energy discussions between Russia and Ukraine, discussions that have been mediated by the European Commission.
Thank you so much. Who's next? Yeah, please.
Mr. Mongolian President, you say that next ASEM Summit 2016 will be special. Can you explain us?
Yeah, there was question next ASEM meeting will be in 2016 in Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. What will be priority for that ASEM meeting? I think security issue will be their priority, and connectivity issue will be priority, and global regional issues will be priority. And also ASEM is, I think, great place, great arena to collaborate, discuss those issues between Europe and Asia. Also, there have been doing bilateral meetings and also multilateral meetings. That's really great area to talk each other and also to get common understanding. I think we will continue that great tradition in Ulaanbaatar in 2016. Thank you.
Okay. Simona? The microphone, please. Simona.
Simona Volta, Euronews. A question for President Barroso. The Ukrainian crisis has overshadowed the result of the summit. But what about the result of ASEM 10, the assessment?
I did not say that it overshadowed. On the contrary, I think the ASEM summit, the fact that we met here, that President Putin came here, was a very good occasion also to discuss the issue of Ukraine. ASEM is also about stability in all this Euro-Asian region. And so since we had the leaders here, it was a good occasion. And I want to thank also Prime Minister Renzi to organize that meeting in the Prefettura of Milano. So I don't think it was overshadowing. On the contrary, it was adding to the results we were looking for our summit. The summit, as it was already explained, achieved important conclusions. If you look in detail to the chair statement that is going to be distributed to you, and if you compare with others, you can see how spectacular is the evolution of the relationship between Asia and Europe in the last years. I can give a personal testimony because during these 10 years of my functions, I've been in 5 of these summits. And if you compare the relationship today in trade and investment with the situation 10 years ago, it's a radical difference. The free trade agreements that we have concluded just today, we have concluded a very important investment agreement with Singapore that completes the free trade part area of that agreement. So the free trade agreements that we have concluded or we are negotiating, the investment agreements that we are negotiating, I mean, the evolution in trade and investment is simply spectacular. But not only in economic terms, this relationship has been improving. The quality of the political dialogue, the density and the openness of the dialogue. Today, in the so-called retreat meeting with leaders, chaired by President Van Rompuy, I can tell you that there were very open and frank discussions about all the sensitive issues, from the South China Sea issue to the situation in Ukraine. All the issues were discussed, always, I think, with a very civilized spirit, but no issue was avoided. So I really believe we can say that this ASEM process is gaining in maturity, both in economic terms and also in the political dialogue.
Thank you. Who's next? Giovanni.
Sì, sono Giovanni Lamberti dell'Agenzia Italia. Presidente Renzi, volevo fare una domanda a lei. Questa mattina lei ha sottolineato l'importanza di un maggior coinvolgimento della Russia nelle questioni internazionali. Volevo sapere quindi l'impegno italiano e soprattutto anche se ritiene che sia arrivato il momento di rivedere il regime delle sanzioni. Per quanto riguarda invece la crescita, volevo capire se a margine anche del vertice ha avuto modo di discutere con gli altri leader europei del patto di stabilità e di vedere anche un po' le immagini che ci sono alcuni scontri a Torino per quanto riguarda la manifestazione della FIOM. Grazie.
Sono 3 questioni diverse che riguardano aspetti diversi. In Italia in questo momento ci sono delle manifestazioni rispetto alle scelte del governo sul Jobs Act, ci sono cioè delle contestazioni alle scelte che il governo ha fatto. Noi siamo convinti che le nostre scelte aiuteranno a creare crescita, occupazione e posti di lavoro. La domanda mi è utile per ringraziare tutte le forze dell'ordine coordinate dal prefetto che hanno gestito l'ordine pubblico a Milano in modo straordinariamente efficace e con grande attenzione per la presenza di oltre 50 delegazioni a livello di capi di Stato e di Governo. Rispetto alle questioni di stamani mattina, ho già risposto questa mattina, Herman e José Manuel hanno già offerto la loro visione. Io credo che sia molto importante che da Milano sia ripartito un percorso che sta continuando in vari formati. Si sono fatti dei passi in avanti molto importanti. Naturalmente c'è ancora molto da fare. La mia posizione, che confermo e ribadisco e che ho cercato di illustrare sia in conferenza stampa che questa mattina durante il breakfast, è che una eventuale risoluzione della questione ucraina sarebbe innanzitutto utile per gli ucraini, per il popolo ucraino, per la stabilità di quella regione, sarebbe molto importante naturalmente per la Russia, sarebbe ovviamente importante per l'Europa, ma sarebbe importante per l'intera comunità internazionale, perché consentirebbe alla Russia di tornare a giocare un ruolo nelle principali questioni internazionali che sono numerose e per molti aspetti preoccupanti. Rispetto alle questioni europee, come lei sa, la settimana prossima a Bruxelles, giovedì e venerdì, ci sarà il tradizionale Consiglio europeo e sicuramente non mancheranno le occasioni per confrontarsi sui punti di cui lei ha parlato, a partire dal tema della crescita e più in generale delle priorità che vogliamo darci per i prossimi mesi.
Last question. Microphone, please.
My question is for my Malaysian Prime Minister, Dato Sri Najib. Malaysia is going to be the chairman of ASEAN next year. How do you see Malaysia's role in enhancing ASEAN-EU relations? Thank you.
Can I mention three specific areas? First of all, as chairperson of ASEAN, I will, together with my other colleagues, give great emphasis on ASEAN-EU relationship. The first point I'd like to make is that next year, ASEAN will emerge as an economic community. And that means it's a community of 600 million people with a combined GDP of $2.5 trillion. And that should make it very attractive for EU companies to invest in a single market when we declare ourselves as an economic community. Secondly is the process of integration that's going on in ASEAN. We will encourage this process, and part of the process would be to ensure that companies will have better processes. In other words, governments that deal with companies, including foreign companies, will enjoy a better commitment, and in particular, the ease of doing business should improve amongst the ASEAN countries. Thirdly, I would like to encourage the EU free trade process. You have completed with Singapore you're on the verge to complete with Vietnam, and Malaysia is not too far behind. And in due course, we hope there will be an ASEAN-EU free trade that will complete the what they call regional integration between EU and ASEAN. So I see a lot of exciting possibilities, and I agree with the view that ASEAN-EU partnership will grow from strength to strength. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everybody.